Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to another edition of Kyla Cares Link Up. I'm Kyle Banks, the founder and CEO of Kyla Cares, and here with my lovely, beautiful host.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. Happy Thankful Thursday.
Yes, Ariel Banks. Ariel's the lead nurse practitioner at the Diabetes Management Clinic in primary care in New Orleans. So always great to connect, Ariel. I'm seeing a lot of you this week.
I know, right?
Yes, Ariel has been so gracious. We're like in the process of redeveloping our website and got some cool things that we'll be presenting in the next few weeks. And Ariel so graciously gave a little bit of her time to just help us share with all the beautiful people out there what type 1 diabetes is, explained from the mouth of a clinician that works with it every day and helping so many people, man. So thank you, Ariel.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
And happy Nurses Appreciation Week.
Yes, it has been a journey. And see, I make 17 years. I was a nurse tech 1 year and 17 years as a nurse or nurse practitioner. So it's been a beautiful journey.
Wow. Ariel, I feel like oh, well, no. I'm aging my time with diabetes because it's been 8 years, but I met you shortly after I was diagnosed. So,
Yeah, I did. So it's been definitely a blessing. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Full disclosure, Ariel is also my point of contact with healthcare. She makes sure I'm good and managed and gives me all the tools I need to do well when I'm not in the present. So, thank you, Ariel.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
Um, this lots of things happened this month. I just want to share. We kicked off today our program in New York City Public Schools. So I had the opportunity to speak with like 300 school nursing supervisors about the program,
Wow.
how to get families signed on. They're sharing it with all of the nurses within the school system. Still 2,000 nurses in the city public schools
Wow.
that we'll be working with through this program. So excited about the launch of it.
That is a big deal. So
Yeah,
kudos.
yeah, through the program we'll be connecting with like family, students living with type 1 and families that are caring for them and just making sure that they're connected to all the amazing tools we have available that help us manage. So excited about that.
That's that's something to be excited about. That's really touching the community, and it'll be expanded even further later. So,
Come on. I'm here for it, Ariel. I'm here for it. This month, if you're in the New York City area, we're also another New York City Public School initiative. We are hosting a health fair in partnership with New York City Public Schools, but it's not your average health fair. There's live music. There's like amazing food from food. And there's also, I'm really excited because we're having a conversation with a couple of high school students about their experience living with type 1.
wow.
So
Okay.
great to share because it's ain't easy when you add on different types of diabetes and have to navigate all of that. So just so happy that they're going to just share their experiences with us and just chat with us about what it's like growing up with type 2 diabetes.
That's awesome.
Yes, yes. What's happening in your world, Ariel?
Just it's Nurses Week. It's Mother's Day is coming up to just all kind of stuff with expanding. I have a new addition, nurse practitioner being trained to deal with our type ones, and so she has ER background. She did training and did stuff in New York for 7.5 years. So it's just that New York, New Orleans touch that's happening lately. So that's been fun, just training others. I feel the past few months I've been training, where
Oh
it's
my,
MDs or nurse practitioners lately. So
I love it. I mean, that's one of the cool things about your practice at Oshkosh is that you get to work with so many upcoming nurse practitioners, and physicians, assistants, and I'm sure even some like future physicians that are just
mhm.
follow you, learn your expertise.
Yes.
Hold on, I'm calling in. I just got word that my audio is acting up. So hold
Yeah,
on.
it's going in and out a little bit. So
We're
yeah,
gonna
so
hit it right now.
but yeah, it's Mental Health Month, so I'm looking forward to who we have coming on, and I know soon enough you'll introduce our speaker. Um, but yeah, I know your mental health is very important. You got to look at yourself as a whole person and make sure that mind, body, and soul is intact. So, you in, Kyle? Or let's see. There you are.
Oh, no. Is this better?
So we're trying to make sure Kyle is heard. So I just want to make sure y'all are patient with the little technical difficulties because he was trying to call in. Um, but yeah, this is Mental Health Month, and so we're just talking on, you're not just a number. So, um, Kyle, are you able to come on? So I'm happy to be a part of the community to do these every second Thursdays.
All right. Is this better?
It's better. Mhm.
Okay, sweet.
Now it looks like a little echo is happening, but let's see, let's make sure.
All right. Yeah, sorry
Okay,
about
there you
that.
are. All right, Kyle, glad to have you back.
So yeah, I'm excited about today's guest as well. Joe Solowaychek. He is a diabetes nurse and family therapist, and has been living with type 1 diabetes for over 62 years.
Wow, it's a
I mean,
long time.
that's a long time, and he's doing well, and he is, I mean, such an inspiration to me. I'm just eight. I'm still a baby in the game. So I mean, it's so cool to see someone live with it as long as he has. Well, still positive about it, excited and thrilled about life. Um, so yeah, and he also works with Beta Biotics. Um,
Amazing, amazing.
he's gonna
Hi.
Not only does he work there, but he also uses Beta Biotics for his insulin delivery. So I'm excited to hear about just. Hello, Joe.
How's it going, guys? Really
Hi.
great to see you. Really great to be here with you. It's an honor and a privilege.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Joe, the honor is all of ours.
Yeah. Total. I beyond. Yeah. Any questions, or would you like me to just roll into it?
I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about
Right.
Beta Bionics before
Yeah.
we dig into all of the mental health goodness.
Okay. Cool. So, I am a diabetes nurse and a family therapist. My specialty is linking how families communicate to how people take care of themselves. And in addition to, like, if you were a patient of mine and you were in my office, you wouldn't even know that you were getting family therapy. Now, the piece about the Beta Bionics thing is that I've had type 1 diabetes for 62 years, going on 63. When I first got diagnosed, there were no blood sugar meters, sensors or anything. There were just urine testing. You had to take 4 drops of urine, stick it into a test tube, a Benedict solution, boil for 5 minutes. The needles were 3/4 of an inch long stainless steel hypodermics. My mom used to sharpen the edge of the needle on a whetstone on Friday afternoons, and then sterilize it. So I've been around the diabetes game for a while, and one of the things that really is exciting for me, not only working for Beta Bionics, which makes the iLet insulin pump, but is actually I wear it. I had heard the founder of Beta Bionics, Ed Damiano, speak at a conference about 15 years ago. And he talked about that they were working on bringing something like this to the event of diabetes, type 1 diabetes. And after the presentation, I got up and I just went up to him and I got on the floor and kissed his feet. Because if you ask me, do I like having diabetes? I will tell you that no, I hate it. It sucks. But if you ask me if I'm happy to be alive, absolutely. And when Ed talked about this iLet that they were going to create, it sounded like what it was going to be able to do was sort of be miraculous in terms of relieving you of the burden of living with this thing. And specifically, since we're talking about mental health month and living with type 1 diabetes and sort of how that impacts mental health and stuff like that, I don't think it takes rocket science to manage diabetes. I just think it takes a lot of courage and determination on a daily basis. You got to suit up and show up. And I'll tell you this, even after about a week or 2 weeks, it's boring. I was ready to hang it up after that, And I ended up, as soon as I saw that the iLet was available, commercially available, I called my friend Tony, who's one of the vice presidents at the company. I said, who I'd worked for before. And I said, Tony, I need to get this thing, And he goes, okay, we'll look into it. And I got it. And I could not believe it. It's like, all right, I got the iLet. And when I got it, the first couple of days, the first 3 or 4 days, you really need to work with it. The iLet is miraculous, but it's not 100% perfect all the time. So you have to learn how to dance with this thing. And sort of the biggest dance step that I've had to learn with the iLet is about how to let go. So anyway, the second night that I had it, I thought, you know what? Let me try pizza, because everybody who has type 1 diabetes and who eats pizza knows what a bitch it is to like really figure out how to manage that. Usually with pizza, you have to calculate how many units of insulin you need based on the grams of carb that are in the particular pizza. Then you have to cut that in half. Then you have to set a timer for 2 hours. Then you have to set another timer after that to see where you are for maybe a temp basal rate through the night if you're on an insulin pump, or give yourself more long-acting insulin or whatever. And then if you're lucky, you wake up in the morning and your blood sugar's around 150. But it is a crap shoot. It's like rolling dice when you eat pizza. So I said, let me test this baby out. And I'll just have 2 slices of pizza, which is my usual thing. The beautiful thing about the iLet as well is that you don't have to carb count. All you have to do is say what your usual amount is, or it's more than your usual or less than your usual. And it's approximate. And in a little bit, I'll tell you a little bit about how that works. But so just from my experience, I ended up having the pizza. And before I went to bed, my blood sugar was 252. So I said to myself, oh, I know how to fix this. You know what I mean? I'll just fool the pump and I'll tell it that I'm having a meal when I'm not, but I'll give myself some extra insulin. Now, the trainer, the Beta Bionics trainer, specifically told me not to do that. But I'm smarty pants and I know better than anybody and I manage it better than anything. So I was like, I'm going to do it. That was my first epiphany, was when I realized that it's not my job anymore, it's Marjorie's job.
Mm,
Call my islet Marjorie. The reason I call her Marjorie is because I feel like the islet device, the pump, is as miraculous as the discovery of insulin. And Marjorie was the first living soul, she was a dog, that Banting and Best administered insulin to in 1922. So I said, it's not my job, it's Marjorie's job. The second epiphany that I had popped right up after that. And it was a thought bubble that went, it's not your fault.
mm,
I don't know about you guys and all of our audience, but there's a lot of, and this is a mental health thing and a psychological, emotional thing as well. There's a lot of feeling like you're taking a test all the time. Did I pass or fail? Pass or fail? Pass or fail? When I see a 252, it makes me think that I didn't do something right. I was blown away by the fact that I have thought that I have had addressed this issue about it's not my fault. I'm just doing the best that I can,
mm.
but apparently not. By just wearing the device and letting go, it was able to tap into some psychological layers that clearly I still hadn't resolved. And I started crying
Wow.
Wow.
because this is part of the burden. Am I doing it right? Am I getting it right? And you have a lot of anxiety. We have those of us living with diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2, is like always worried about, am I getting it right? And then frustrated when you don't get it right, So
Yeah.
anyway, I didn't do anything. I tied my hands. I went to bed. I didn't set any alarms, and I just said, I trust you, Marjorie. Anyway, I woke up in the morning. I slept through the night, and my blood sugar was 92.
Nice. Nice.
And what was really great was that I had nothing to do with it. While I was sleeping, the islet was doing its thing. And I want to show the audience the next slide with the next image, which has the algorithms, so that I can explain a little bit about how the islet works, which is really phenomenal.
All right. Because Joe, let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Did you feel weird, like not having a pre-bolus, or?
Are you kidding me? I feel like totally weird. It's like, it's beyond weird. It's like, I feel unemployed. I feel like I should be doing something, but I don't have to be doing something.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
thing that's quite incredible is that my results are that I'm in 80% target range between
Wow.
70 and 180 without doing anything. There's this big misconception in the sort of field today and out there is that this islet is only for train wrecks who can't take care of themselves or this kind of stuff. It's not. It's for anybody who's tired of taking care of their diabetes,
Mm,
which I think is anyone who's had diabetes for longer than 2 weeks.
it's exhausting for sure.
Totally. So if you look at this image, you'll see there are 3 algorithms that work to manage our blood sugars when you're on the islet. There's a basal, and the only thing that you have to do with the islet, you don't have to calculate basal rates. You don't have to calculate insulin to carb ratios. You don't have to calculate correction factors. You don't have to calculate anything. All you have to do is put your weight in and let it ride. And announce meals. So if you look at these algorithms, the green thing at the bottom, those little dots, those are your basal rates. That works too. And that basal rate is being adjusted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, based on your numbers last week, based on your numbers in the last 24 hours. The next one is a correction algorithm. Let's say that your blood sugar is going up because you're nervous or scared, or you're doing a presentation, or you're on chemo, or you're having your menstrual cycle period, and blood sugars tend to go up those times. The correction algorithm will take care of that immediately, but as a result of that, the basal algorithm is also learning that it must give you more over the course of the time that your blood sugars have been steadily rising with whatever's going on. And then the third algorithm, they all work together and somewhat separately and independently and talking with each other, the food algorithm. The food algorithm is what you use to announce before a meal. It's sort of like bolusing. You say, I'm having my usual meal. I'm having more than my usual meal. I'm having less than my usual meal. And that's basically it. Now, it doesn't mean that you only have to announce once or bolus once. It just means that when you're eating this amount of your usual, you bolus a usual, you announce a usual. If I'm having 5 usuals at my sit down for Easter or Passover or Christmas or whatever, I can keep on telling the pump I'm having more usual, more usual, more usual, more usual. And I just keep going through. You're not restricted to just announcing one time. So this thing is really miraculous. And it is the first time in 63 years that I feel like I don't have diabetes.
Wow.
Oh,
That's huge.
It's beyond huge. It's quite incredible. I really am amazed at it all the time. Every day I'm sort of like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it, you know?
So you're announcing the meals when you sit down to eat.
Correct. You announce the meals when you sit down to eat, right before you eat. And because you don't want to announce it before, because then you don't want to mess up the algorithms. The other thing that I have to say that's really important in terms of learning how to dance with this thing is not over-treating low blood sugars. So I think most of us with type 1 out there usually have had a history of like low blood sugars in the middle of the night. I don't know about you guys, but when I wake up in the middle of the night with a low blood sugar, I find myself walking to the kitchen and saying to myself, I'm only going to have 4 ounces of juice. I'm only going to have 4 ounces of juice. But that's a weird pep talk to be giving yourself if that's all you're going to do. Because you know what happens. You get to the kitchen, the peanut butter Captain Crunch grabs you by the back of the neck, shoves 5 bowls in your mouth, and then you wake up in the morning and your blood sugar is 350.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Totally.
That's been the hardest part for me, has been about holding myself back from over-treating my loads.
Look, story of my life, Joe. I mean, I usually sleepwalk to the fridge and I wake up with crumbs over my mouth and my blood sugar's 350.
Yeah, it looks like an army of harvest ants has been in the kitchen. You know?
Yes.
Crazy. So that's number one hard. And the other hard part has been treating the lows. All you need is like 5 to 10 grams of carbohydrate, 2 glucose tablets, 2 lifesavers, and you're done. And you just let it ride and you'll see it goes up, because the islet stops delivering and stops delivering for half an hour to help us avoid roller coastering up and down, you know, with giving too much insulin, taking too many carbs, this kind of stuff. So you don't want to do that. If you start over treating it, then you'll have trouble with the correction algorithm down the road. You want to be respectful of the algorithms. You want to be respectful of the big magic that's inside the little islet. Got to be careful. The other thing that has been really difficult for me has been about letting go. It's been humbling. I have learned from Marjorie, my islet, that my approach to diabetes management is more like a freaking sledgehammer. She is humbling for me. She makes me humble.
I love it.
She's elegant, sophisticated, smart, and she even looks great. You know?
Wow. Sounds like the perfect wife.
Totally. Totally. So it's been really magical for me. And now I work for the company and I go around the country doing workshops and presentations on the psychological aspects of living with diabetes and how the islet has helped that. The islet has been proven through studies that to reduce diabetes distress, to reduce fear of hypoglycemia, to reduce fear of discomfort with treating low blood sugars, reducing anxiety related to having diabetes. I think of diabetes distress sort of like if anybody's familiar with black and white televisions from the old days, where in between channel 12 and 13 in New York, there was this thing called snow. And that's what I think diabetes distress is. It's always back there. It doesn't mean that you're depressed about having it. It just means that you get tired of living with it all the time, or it's there. It doesn't go away. Even if you're not taking care of it, it's still marching on. You know, So we have choices to
Mhm.
either be one with it and accept and let go and continue on, or we can fight it, in a lot of different ways from a mental health perspective and a psychological perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, that's amazing to hear. I mean, I'm so trained that I can't even wrap my brain around how that works. That you sit down, enjoy a meal, and or you sit down and you bolus for a meal at that moment, and still don't have the spikes, even with the algorithm.
I'm telling you, you don't get it doesn't get it right. Marjorie's not perfect, but she's like all of us. There's this obsession in the diabetes field of everything that comes out new has to fix everything.
Mm,
This is the wave of the future. It's
yes,
not perfect, but it's really incredible.
it's really incredible.
I still have some highs. I still have some lows. I still think I'm eating this much, but I ate more or I ate less.
Hmm.
But the correction algorithm is ridiculous. It kicks in to cover my butt when that stuff happens.
Nice. So that's amazing. And especially with all of the advancements you've seen throughout your journey with type 1 diabetes, it's,
Yes.
it's really cool that you're at this point.
This, I think, is, look, I think this is important. And I think it's important. What's even more important about the islet is that the pivotal studies and real world data is showing that it's driving large populations of people with type 1 diabetes, even if they're not dancing with it perfectly. It's bringing people down. If we had like a wide range of 15A1C and
Hmm.
6.1A1C, it tends to migrate everybody down to a 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, which is absolutely incredible. Even a good therapist has a hard time doing this. The biggest thing in diabetes, Ariel and I were talking before, is getting people to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Hmm.
The
Totally.
eye is like a doctor and an endocrinologist and a therapist in a box, right?
I mean, two things everyone with type 1 diabetes needs, for sure.
Totally. It's like ridiculous. And on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No
I
busy
love,
scene.
I
No
love
busy
it.
scene. Totally.
Ariel, you have a few patients that are on the bionic on the islet as well, right?
Yes, I have a 65 plus patient that was on it. Maybe she probably just got on it right when it came out. So she's probably is going on that 2 year mark. But she, from the beginning to the end, I love it. I love it. And she has the pre-filled cartridges for it. And she said it's a game changer and she wouldn't do anything differently, like moving forward. She's done a pump before, but this, she just says love. So when somebody says love, it's like, wow.
Mm,
And she never changes. Like each time I see her, it's the same thing. And if she has little hiccups or different things emotionally affecting her mental health, she says, not the pump, it was her, So
Yeah,
nice.
I think this thing is so great that it would make people want to get diabetes just to be on the islet.
all right, so you stretch it. But I have quite a few more that got it this year. And so I'm excited to see the data and just how you don't have to be so engaged. So when you see the heads of other pumps, how much work they have to put in with the pump and the engagement versus this pump.
Yeah. I mean, Ariel can attest because Ariel is my she helps me with like management of my type 1 diabetes. So, and when my mom passed away about 2 years ago, my A1C shot up, and it's my A1C has been pretty steady since I was first diagnosed. I think it was a 12 or 13, and got it down to like 6.5, and it always like stayed between 6 and 6.5. And well, mom checked out, and my A1C, I'm sure my habits had a lot to do with it, and just not being as tuned in as I was before. Because, grief is it's the way stress impacts one's ability to manage is it's crazy.
Yeah, big time. We have a question from the audience. It says, "How does it handle spikes from simple carbs, candy, etc.?" I love the question because it means that whoever's asking it likes that stuff. My My favorite is Skittles, and it handles it well. You just got to be sort of carb aware and know how it and it's contextual as well. So if you're exercising a lot and you do it, the spike will be a little bit less. If you're not exercising, just sitting watching television, it'll take a little bit longer for it to sort of adjust and bring you down, but it will do it. It will do it. And I would say 100% of the time it works really well. If you're eating candy, but expect it to spike a little bit more. And the other thing that you can expect is that lots of times when we're eating candy, what ends up happening is that we overtreat it and then we go low. And then we go very low and then we eat more candy, then we go high. And wearing the eyelet and allowing the correction algorithm to adjust and sort of take care of us, it will take care of it, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, but it will always take care. And there's no reason not to have candy.
How would you bolus for that?
You would just say like this. So what's your usual amount of carbs? So my usual amount for breakfast is about 30 grams of carbohydrate for breakfast, about a slice of bread.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my idea for what usual is. So if I'm having 6 Skittles, that's like about 15 grams. It's about half of what I would have for my bread. So I would say less than. Or if I was having 25 Skittles.
That's more like it, Joe. I was at 6 Skittles.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying,
That's
if I'm having 25, I'm going to announce more. I'm going to do it before. And what's nice is I'm not advocating this, but if you're on a roll and you just can't stop, you can keep on announcing.
Rolls happen, Joe. I mean, look, sometimes you're snacking and watching a good movie and you just don't realize how much you're eating.
It also depends on which insulin you're using. If you're using Fiasp or Lumjev, which is like sort of nitroglycerin fuel and it really works faster than Novolog or Humalog, you'll get a little bit better, less of a spike, and more of a quick return. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, if someone is only eating 6 Skittles, I think wow. I mean, do they even need a pump?
No, and they probably are like Zen monks or something like that.
Right. That kind of control.
Yeah. I was like, whoa.
Well, Joe, I mean, thank you for just sharing your experience with the eyelet. You have me thinking about things. Ariel, we need to chat.
Definitely. I definitely know the process.
Cool.
I guess my question with the snack versus the meal,
Mm-hmm.
it just adapts to your everyday life for like 48 hours or 8 days, or how does it determine?
Yeah, totally. And it can change. Your usual can change. You can do a soft reset yourself by saying, my usual is now changing, and it will learn that your usual is now changing. But it needs about 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days. Okay.
To learn to adapt to the new one, And the first couple of days, based on your weight, the algorithm tries to be conservative, not to make you go too low. So you can expect your blood sugar numbers to be a little higher the first couple of days. As it's learning, then it tightens things up and, you're ready to rock and roll.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I heard, that it takes a few days for it to learn you, but once it gets you and how you operate and function, that it takes the load off.
Here's the deal. In addition to doing such an incredible job with the numbers and from, control, it also, the other people who are going to feel somewhat unemployed are healthcare professionals. And why is that? Because now when you come to visit your doctor or your nurse practitioner, the doctor is not going to tell you, the nurse practitioner is not going to tell you, I think you should adjust your basal rate by 0.2 units per hour between the hours of 6 and 11 or something like that. Mm-hmm. The eyelet does that by itself. What's left to deal with and discuss with all the free time that you get as
Mhm.
everybody's feeling somewhat unemployed, is now healthcare professionals can help address the psychological issues that pertain to diabetes. And it's
Mm,
my belief that at the core of the diabetes experience is a profound spiritual, emotional, and psychological sort of thing of powerlessness,
mhm.
and how we address that. And it's the feelings that drive the numbers.
Right.
It's the emotions, even how you think about it. I'm
Mhm.
checked in or I'm checked out. I'm accepting or not. I believe that the serenity prayer is like a prayer for people with diabetes. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. That I think the sort of spiritual lesson for with diabetes is acceptance and letting go. Acceptance and letting go, not resignation, but acceptance.
And
And
letting
then healthcare professionals with the islet doing all of the sort of tweaking and the number stuff, healthcare professionals can ask questions like, how has diabetes impacted your life?
mm,
What are
that,
you most worried about? What
right.
things are you concerned about down the road? These kinds of questions. It's going to change the
Mhm.
landscape a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, that is the perfect segue because, as we said at the top, that it's Mental Health Awareness Month, even though, you know, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, but we need to pay attention to our mental health, especially when living with type 1 diabetes 12
Totally.
out of the year. Um, and I'm sure anyone who's living with the disease or anyone that loves someone with type 1 diabetes, you already know it's so much more than just a physical condition. It's emotional, it's mental, it's every day, it's every hour. And, for many people, especially in like the Black and Brown communities, managing diabetes also means managing how we're seen, how we show up, and whether we even have access to proper care. All of those things just contribute to just a mental overload that can just sometimes be overbearing. And
Yeah, I don't think it's been a level playing field at all.
mhm,
And one of the reasons why I'm so impressed and inspired by your work is that it's attempting to fix a broken system when it comes to people of color.
yeah, yes,
Access to care, resources, just approach and posture on the
mhm,
part of the mental health community and the medical community. I think it's been lacking, which has created a not level playing field. And what I'm most inspired about and impressed about your guys' work is trying to level that field in terms of making sure that people of color, brown, black, end up getting the resources that they need and
mhm,
access to the best care that they need that addresses not only the numbers, but
mhm,
also the soul of people and
yeah,
the heart and the
yeah,
mind and the
mhm.
heart, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, when we connect with families, before we even dig into any of that, we really like just try to connect with the person and learn about like their lives, what they're going through, what's like really causing them the most stress,
Yes.
even outside of diabetes. And
Yes.
building those relationships like that I found it to be like really impactful with building trust, and then people feeling comfortable enough to even share what they're going through related to management.
And I will tell you something, if we don't bring those subjects up, like you're talking about now, people think those are not important to bring enough, not
Right,
important enough to talk about.
right.
Those are the determinants of how we end up doing. I mean, Ariel, right? You see it in your practice.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
happens a lot. So everybody needs to be heard and everybody needs access. And some of them may think that that's not for me or they get passed by on certain devices and it shouldn't be. I think everybody deserves a device.
yeah.
Totally. I, it's crazy. Like
It
in
is
this
crazy.
country, with how much money there is, that people should still be concerned about not getting insulin
Hmm.
or not having enough to at the end of the month to pay for whatever supplies they need.
Yeah. Yeah. It all really piles on to like the anxiety people feel surrounded
Yes.
living with type 1 diabetes, and just all of the social isolation many people express. We get a lot of outreach each month for, just people reaching out about the different programs we offer. And uh, I mean, it seems like every with every touch point of outreach that we receive, people are just expressing how lonely and experiencing like just fatigue around all the decisions they have to make, and the diabetes burnout. And so that's why I'm really happy to be chatting with you right now. Um, and I
My hope is that as a result of your work and as a result of people of color getting better access to both resources and to good care, that it
Mhm.
will inspire people of color to get into the field. It's the diabetes that ended up making me go into the field, you know, and I got good care when I first got diagnosed. My parents took me to the Joslin Clinic,
Oh,
you know,
Mm,
and I ended up getting great care. It was the diabetes nurses that touched my heart and made me realize when I entered nursing school that that's why I wanted to become a nurse.
yeah.
And I'm hoping that the same thing, that this is a dynamic that's going to unfold in a beautiful way with this community.
Yeah, as do I. And working with all of the kids that we're beginning to work with in New York City and in Detroit, and other places as we expand our program with school districts around the country. Hopefully, that will be one of the outcomes that
Maybe we can do some of these things with the New York City School District and in Detroit of like an internship mentor program.
love that. Yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes,
like
yes.
doing a graduate class in diabetes. I did this when I worked at the Oakland Unified School District, and I was in charge of the diabetes program, where
Hmm.
we had special classes that it was like a graduate course in high school for diabetes. We visited clinics, we talked about stuff, and then if you passed the course and did a final project, you got an extra grade, like a plus to whatever added on to your grade, you know
I, I,
plus a bunch of other stuff that's just could be unfolding in a really nice way. Yeah.
yeah, I love that. I love that as an
me
idea
too.
because that's one of the things we want to incorporate. Just establishing career paths for the kids. I know that.
Sign me up. I'm on this.
Yes, I know that just because of my time and like entertainment and working with Disney, and there's so many different career paths that can be taken, and so many kids that are interested in musical theater and the film industry, and so connecting them to like those opportunities
Yes.
would be amazing,
Yeah.
including opportunities with some of the technology manufacturers like Beta Bionics.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Joe, like, can you just talk to us a little bit about like I know a lot of people, like I said, with the loneliness and just this feeling of just being isolated and no one understanding what they're going through, and
Yes.
then just the overload of having to make all of these extra decisions on top of the normal decisions people make
Yeah.
lives. They're experiencing diabetes burnout. Can you just share with us a little bit about like what that is and how you can identify it in some ways to
Yeah. You can identify it if you're saying to yourself, this diabetes is a stress thing or the burden of living with diabetes. You can identify it if you're sick and tired of having it. It's not a hard diagnosis. Right? If you're pissed off in the morning when your number's not right, and you say,
uh-huh.
"Oh, another time my number's not right. I can't get this right." If you're saying that, or if you're saying, "You know what? You're with your partner, but they don't understand very well about what it's like to have it, and you need somebody else to help you explain, help them understand what it's like." If you are at a place where you're finding that you're more grumpy when you wake up in the morning and it's harder to get through your day without being upset or anxious or frustrated, it's and you have type 1 diabetes, it's if it's not if you can say that it's not related to anything, you could probably dollars to donuts say that it's diabetes distress. And
Mm,
it comes with not feeling understood sometimes. You
right.
know, I feel best, Kyle and Uriel, when I'm in a room with other people with diabetes.
Oh,
So I go to these conferences, diabetes conferences and that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of people with diabetes and insulin pumps in the room. I can't tell you how happy it makes me feel when I hear somebody else's goddamn pump go off.
Yes.
It's like magic.
I
It's
know.
like an instant, it's like an instant, oh, that feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not me. They know exactly what I'm going through. And I
Right.
think part of the overcoming the loneliness is for us to make sure that there are resources for people with diabetes that where they can come and talk and feel like you were saying, heard
Hmm.
and acknowledged and understood. I have a resentment against the United States government. I think it for a lot of reasons, but this one in particular around diabetes. It's like another full-time job.
Hmm.
You get tired of it.
Yes.
That's diabetes distress.
Mhm.
That's the burden of diabetes. I think they should give us $150,000 a year just to stay home and take care of it.
I agree.
I
I
promise
agree.
you.
That would be
I promise.
amazing.
I think it's a great idea. I think the government would end up doing better with less money spent on healthcare if they gave us $150,000. Don't do anything else except manage your diabetes. Have coffee, wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym, take a bicycle ride, come home, manage your diet, all this kind of stuff. I think that would happen. But the stress of being alone and not feeling understood, that alone can cause stress.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and it's really important to have at your disposal and access to people who know what it's like and who can validate your experience. I don't think I, I think diabetes and chronic illness in general is not about fixing.
Hmm.
And when you're focused on only the numbers, then that becomes I have to fix something.
Right.
Living with a chronic illness is about healing over time. Each of us have our own, we're coming from a different place. We're
Hmm.
coming from with different burdens and different sort of things that we're managing. It's the healing process. Talking about it is really helpful, and particularly with somebody else who's sensitive and compassionate and goes, I get you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, or who's even interested enough to say, tell me what it's like for you to live with this thing. You know, I can't tell you how many healthcare providers never ask that question.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have one doctor who is in New York, the doctor who I go to now here in California. I love her. She's really amazing. I had one doctor in New York who I came in and the first thing I did was starting to show him my numbers, you know. I said, I think I'm doing okay. Because you always feel like you're at the Academy Awards. Did I win or not? Or will my A1C be okay? Will it not be? Will it be the walk of shame? Anyway, he goes, Joe, put the numbers away. We're not
Uh,
going to talk about numbers. Tell me what it's been like for you. I just started crying.
oh.
oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I must say, Ariel, thank you because I feel like I don't know if you're like this with everybody, but with me, I feel like we start with the conversation about like what's going on in my life. And then we dig into, all right, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And
And what's the most difficult thing with you? What's the biggest challenge for you living with
right,
diabetes? You know,
right, right.
yeah.
Well, Joe, to your point about the numbers, I was saying earlier how my A1C shot up, but Ariel, we had a little chat during my last visit and came back and got my numbers tested again, and my A1C is in a much more respectable place now. But that's the point. To your point, it took for me just a lot of engagement and just constantly checking and just staying on top of it. And I mean, it was exhausting, but it was rewarding that I was able to bring my A1C back down.
And I congratulate you. And I'm inspired by that courage and determination that it takes. People don't get, you get because you've been in theater.
Hmm.
People don't get what goes on backstage to make the show.
All of the work is really backstage.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say all of it. I think the actors have something to do with it.
Yeah. 100%.
But backstage is the thing. Diabetes is a backstage disease. You
Yeah,
have to get all the backstage stuff together to get on stage.
yeah.
That's true.
Joe, do you think there's a difference between being like physically exhausted, physically tired, and emotionally burned out from type 1 diabetes?
I think they go hand in hand, but I think if you're not in good control, you're going to feel exhausted. And I
Yeah,
don't say good or bad meaning like a moral judgment thing. I just mean like if your numbers are high, you're not in good control. If your numbers are, you know, that kind of thing, right?
right.
And I think that if you're fluctuating a lot, going up and down, you could feel depressed. The
Hmm.
symptoms of high variable blood sugar levels up and down
Hmm.
are exactly like depression. You know, a lack of energy, feeling like a lack of energy to do stuff, not feeling motivated, wanting to sleep more, that kind of thing. And just being exhausted from having to drink a lot and go to the bathroom a lot. When your blood sugars are high, that's where we are, right?
Right, right. Joe, do you, being someone that has lived with type 1 for 62 years, like how have you always been this positive? Have you had times, moments when, you were like down about living with type 1?
Yes. Every so often it happens. And I great, 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 great point. When people get depressed or when the diabetes distress really comes up,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It means that you have diabetes.
Right.
It's part of the game. It's part of the
Part of the game.
journey. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, yes, I have gotten depressed over time. There were days when I didn't feel like getting out of bed. I had a bad low the night before, and I just want to stay in bed all day. I'm exhausted.
Hmm.
No. And I feel like I mismanaged it. And I feel like I really come down on myself. I used to do this thing to avoid, I would call them my diabetes depression days.
Uh-huh.
And what I would get tired of was like the diabetes deciding when I was going to be depressed. So
Uh,
I decided that I would start scheduling my diabetes depression day. Call my friends ahead of time and I tell them next Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'm going to be depressed about having diabetes. I want you to call me and tell me how courageous and inspiring I am.
You bad.
Joe, this is the most enjoyable conversation I've ever had about diabetes, burnout, and mental health and depression.
And I'm telling you, they say, but Joe, you're telling us to tell you that. And I said, yeah, I know. If you want to stay on the A-list, call.
Yes, I love it. I love
That's funny.
Yeah, I used to tell my son, this was like when I was first diagnosed, I would say, I'm taking today off. And that meant that I was not checking, I was not bolusing, I wasn't doing anything.
Yes.
And that's what I had to do at that time to get through, just because this new life that I was granted was just
Yes.
too much. I don't do that anymore because I know that it's not going to end well for me.
Right.
But yeah, that's just the route I took.
Yeah. And I think that people misunderstand. They think that if they get depressed about it, they're doing something wrong. It's just your body and your head telling you, dude, this thing takes a toll on us.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're going to feel this way every so often,
Mhm.
But I will tell you this, Kyle, Ariel, it took me 18 years to get to that.
Wow.
I had diabetes 18 years and I thought I should be Superman all the time. The more you applauded, the more I danced, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
One day, when I was working at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, I started to feel, as a diabetes educator, I started feeling depressed. And the guy who was my mentor and teacher, Dr. Lester Baker, who ran the clinical research center there and who was my mentor, said to me, I said, Lester, I feel horrible. And he goes, what is it about? I said, I hate having diabetes. He goes, I am so happy to hear you say that. He goes, far be it from me to tell you that you should be depressed, but I always thought you were a little too good to believe. He says, I am so happy you're letting that out.
Yeah.
That's
He's like, there's a human being in there. For sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I think that really helped me was uh, just really great supportive friends. Now, these friends did not have type 1, but what I loved about them is they not like judgmental or offering advice, but they just wanted to be there. I remember I
Yes.
was on tour with the Lion King and just so sad and depressed. And my friends came and picked me up and took me for a walk on the beach. And I remember I have a picture because we drew our names in the sand with the date. But I remember the exact moment where I just felt my body being free of like all of that sadness and how healing the water was and that the beautiful company I was in and how loving they were being towards me just really helped. So I could not agree more with you that connecting with people that are also living with the disease is amazing and just a great way to just connect with people who understand without you having to say anything. But that's also a luxury because I know a
You
lot of
know,
people
it's
have.
really, 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 really important. They did a study at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia that wanted to look at what things that a clinician could look at that would predict what a kid's A1C would be a year after diagnosis. This is in kids, but I think anecdotally for me it applies to adults as well. And
Mhm.
I would imagine Ariel would agree with me. But this thing about they looked at certain variables and stuff like that. In single parent families, what do you think was the most statistically significant predictor of what a kid's A1C would be?
I'm not going to answer because you shared this with me. So
All right.
Ariel,
What do you think?
Uh, I guess it predicted with food security and how engaged the parent is with the child.
Nope. It was the parents' support network that they had in place at the time of diagnosis
Oh,
that was most predictive of what the kid's A1C would be.
wow,
wow.
If
yeah,
you were a single parent and you had a great support network, you could be guaranteed that your kid would do
Gotcha.
well.
Gotcha.
mm,
And I believe that no one's done the research in the adult things about what predicts for A1C besides
yeah,
engagement. But I think it's true. If you
yeah.
don't have friends, you don't got game, you know?
Mm.
That's true. That's true.
Oh yes, that is the
Yeah.
truth.
And friends can take us outside of ourselves.
Hmm.
Like when I am whining and complaining about having diabetes, they can make fun of me.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yes,
know, they
totally,
can like,
totally.
and think, and that
Oh,
takes me outside of myself. You know, it's like I forget myself. I go like, yeah, that's silly.
yeah,
But I need somebody else to do that for me. We can't. We're social animals, beings.
yeah.
We can't do everything ourselves. We're made to be with each other.
Right, right. To that point, like can how how do people identify when they have someone in their life that is not helping them to just feel better about what they're going through?
If this other person is saying you shouldn't do that, if this other person is saying always reminding them to do something about managing diabetes, if this person if the person who has diabetes feels like no matter what they say to the other person, they still don't get it, then I think that's a person who's, you got to think about why are you with them?
Right,
You
right.
know, I
Yeah.
I was and it can happen in the job place as well. It's like I was doing telephonic care for a number of years at a healthcare corporation. And I said to my supervisor before I took the job, I said, I just need you to know I have diabetes. And there are times when I'll need to be eating and treating and maybe step outside. She'd go, no problem. She was the diabetes nurse for the whole corporation. I
Uh-huh.
said, okay, great. This is great. I have a sort of fellow pilgrim here. Anyway, uh, I said, it'll take a while for me to get into the routine of how I'm working here in the office and stuff like that, because there was no food allowed in the office.
Uh,
So, okay, I treated it once and she sort of didn't say anything. The second time, like about a month later, I had another low. Okay. And came by and she goes, I thought you fixed that.
Oh,
Wow.
this is sad.
Wow. Wow.
Or I went to a doctor's appointment one time. First time I saw this doctor. This is how you can tell that someone's not for you when it comes to it. If they try and scare the EBGBs out of you into
Yes.
taking better care of yourself. So
Yes.
I sit down and she goes, hey, I looked at your labs. Did you know that you're spilling protein and that you might be at risk for kidney disease and failure? This is the first time that I met her.
Wow.
Okay. I said, no. She goes, well, if you have kidney failure, you can take an ACE inhibitor, which will help. And I'm going like, okay, fine. Then she's like, thinks she's being sensitive. And she says, I sense you're being checked out. And I said, no, not really. I'm just scared out of my pants about all the news that you just delivered me. She goes, okay, well, hop up on the thing. I'll take your blood pressure. I get up on the exam table. She takes my blood pressure. It's like 150 over like 100. She goes, did anybody ever tell you that you have high blood pressure? I said, did anybody ever tell you you're a shitty doctor? I said, this is dumb.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
If people try and scare you into taking better care of yourself, that's not the way to go. That is
Yeah.
the least helpful way.
Yeah. The fear factor definitely does not work. And now that we're working with so many kids, it especially does not work with them because they don't even have the foresight to understand what.
Most adults don't have the foresight. How many adults smoke cigarettes and they know it's going to kill them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would you expect a 16-year-old to know that?
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we definitely choose positive reinforcement, and maybe a little sarcasm sometimes.
Totally. And make sure that in your circle you have someone who really knows and loves you,
Yes.
who gets what the diabetes is about. Invaluable, to your
Yeah.
point. It's
Yeah.
absolutely invaluable, like your friends did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cherish my friends even more so than my family because they can be so annoying sometimes. I mean, I don't care what I'm eating, comment
Yeah.
that that comments that are being made, or questions like just it feels like you're being judged but I don't mind answering.
Yeah, no, it's like, they think that being the diabetes police, I think that's the term,
Yeah.
actually is a form of support. You
Yes.
know what it means? It's a form of self-hazard because they don't know how close they are to getting strangled.
Yeah.
Stop.
It's like, really? You can tell me this at the dinner table?
At
Or
the
here's a
dinner
good
table.
one. Here's a good one. It sounds like it's nice, but it's not so nice. Everybody else is getting a brownie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream for dessert.
Uh-huh.
And then the hostess brings out a cup of sugar-free applesauce. And she goes, I got this for you because you have diabetes. Okay, strangle.
I can see that. Yeah.
I agree, Joe, this has been so much fun.
It has.
Like I truly enjoyed this. I hope we can have you back on again because like I
Definitely.
said, mental health awareness should be 12 months out of the year. Even though this is the month that is designated on the calendar, but we need to focus on our mental health and just the tips you shared about surrounding yourself with people who are supportive and being able to identify when people aren't can do so much for just helping people to just be lifted into
Well, I can tell you guys that my blood sugar is better after that we've been talking than it was before.
Same here, Joe, because I was beefing when we first came on, and the
I
beefing
heard
has
it.
stopped.
I would love to be as involved as possible with you guys.
Well,
It's
consider
an
it
honor and a privilege.
consider it done, Joe. This was great. Ariel, it's always fun, and for everybody watching, tune in next month because we have a very special moment. We're visiting uh, a podiatrist by the name of Gabrielle Clark at Brand New Feet, and her focus is on wound care as opposed to amputations, and she's really doing God's work. So if you're just check out her Instagram before the show because there's really interesting things on there. The way she is able to beautify most ugly,
Wow.
mine included. So I can't wait to have her on. So please join us. And Jill and Ariel, thank you both so much.
Yes, thank
Great.
you, Joe.
May the force be with
Amazing.
you guys. Yeah, back at you.
May the force be with you. Jill, you're an
Aw,
inspiration.
you're very inspiring. Thank you so much, Joe.
It's going to be great. Thank you.
Y'all take care and
Thank
bye,
you.
everybody.